Derby County were supposed to face Leyton Orient in a very important game in the FA Cup third round yesterday, but the game was postponed due to weather conditions. Now you can see two angles of the pitch on screen right now, and it was obviously going to be a very, very difficult task for the groundsman to be able to keep the pitch going, and they've done a very, very good job. If we'd have had an earlier kickoff, I genuinely think we would have had the game going, but ultimately being pushed back to 6 o'clock for international viewing ultimately cost Derby County and Leyton Orient the opportunity to go head-to-head on Saturday. And
today's cup ties not going to happen, unfortunately. Just explain your decision for us.
Yeah, so I got a call from the club this morning to come in and check the pitch, and based on yesterday, the pitch was playable, and the positive news was that the weather was forecast to be slightly warmer overnight. However, unfortunately, overnight the pitch and the weather is colder than it is, and it's actually frozen on the goalmouth areas. And obviously, due to the weather coming in and come kick off, it's going to be about -1, so the pitch isn't going to thaw out. And obviously, in agreement with both clubs, the game has been postponed because of this, due to player safety.
For me, it now opens up the door for what Paul Warne and his coaching staff might do. As we spoke about in the preview, Derby County have some illness going through, and in my opinion, the youngsters should be playing in this game to give them an opportunity and a feel for first team football. Now, obviously heading into this game, Derby County is set to see the return of Eiran Cashin, Ryan Nyambe and Ebou, with David Ozo coming towards the end of the week. Now, for me, I think the only one that's really likely to feature in the squad is probably Ebou. He was only out of the game at the weekend with a concussion. Now, the big thing for me and the most important thing for me is I think that Paul Warne should keep those academy players that were supposed to be in the squad, whether they're starting or on the bench. I think we should play the exact same team he was expecting to play, the exact same bench, because for me, they were given an opportunity, and things out of their control took that away from them. And sometimes it's not meant to be, but sometimes it should be. And we saw the likes of Cruz Allen, who missed out on the under-21s game yesterday. Potentially the likes of Morton Spencer, Jack Perry, Freddie Turley, all other players potentially involved, as well as obviously the likes of potentially Jake Rooney, Dejon Brown and Darren Robinson, who could fill out that first team for Derby County with obviously bench places or maybe even places in the first team. And for me, I still think they deserve their opportunity. They probably trained with the squad during the week. They obviously would have travelled down and will have obviously been getting ready and preparing for potentially making their debuts. So for me, I think it's massively important that Paul Warne gives those youngsters the opportunity to still play, whether it be off the bench or just be involved in the game. For me, it's one for me which is really difficult, because when we spoke about it before, I said that the youngsters should play anyway. Obviously, then we heard the news of illness and things like that. But then we had news of transfers. Sonny Bradley going out the door. Joe Ward potentially on the way to Mansfield. And that's two deals which, in my opinion, I think they should have gone. Because they're not playing. So why keep them? Why have players who want to play football sitting on the bench? And I think that's what we're going to see over the course of the next few weeks of this transfer window, is letting those players go. Now, ultimately, I believe that the reason Joe Ward is still at Derby County is because he was supposed to play in this game. Now, I don't have any insider information. I won't ever claim to. I always try and make it clear that my links come from sports journalists that post publicly for you all to see. You can always go and look at it yourselves. And for me, this is what's going to be really interesting for Derby County heading back into this one. We'll have done extra travel that we weren't expecting to do. It's going to have potentially a negative effect heading into the game at the weekend with Watford, which is another reason why I think we should stick to those fringe players playing the game and obviously having their own impact and potentially earning their way into the first team. I don't want to see a Ben Osborne playing. I don't want to see a Kenzo or a Marcus Harness or even a Jerry Yates, not even a Curtis Nelson, really. I don't want them players really playing. I want us to be able to put our front foot forward come the weekend. And obviously that's going to be very, very difficult, given obviously the injury and illness situation Derby County have. But we're going to end up with one recovery day and one training day, maybe 2 training days before travelling up to Watford, down to Watford, whatever. And it is going to be very difficult for the players. It's going to be very difficult for the staff. Now, the only positive I can see out of this is that those players that were ill will probably be back in the fold by Tuesday, hopefully, fingers crossed. And that then opens the door for them to be back involved in, obviously, the fixture, or even like training up towards the Watford game, whether they're going to be involved in that or not, sort of thing. Now, the big question for me is the under-21s do have a game on Tuesday night. I believe it's in the National League Cup versus Woking, which I think if you're not going to play those young lads, they should go and play in that game, because they need football to develop and to move their career forward. And that's what we want as Derby County fans, and even the Derby County staff, I assume they want them to be playing games. Now, obviously the experience of playing with the first team is invaluable, but if they're just going to sit on the bench and freeze their arses off for 90 odd minutes, then in my opinion they shouldn't be taken back to Leyton Orient. So it is going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, will Joe Ward play? Will Corey Blackett-Taylor play? Connor Washington, is he going to be involved? James Collins? All these names who haven't really played at all this season, who could potentially get their opportunity heading into this one to put their front foot forward, whether that be for a transfer out of the club or to turn around to Paul Warne and go, I actually deserve to be here, I deserve to be playing games. And it is going to be interesting to see how that is dealt with Paul Warne and with the coaching staff and the players, because it's an important decision to make. Now, for me, if Joe Ward's on the way out, let him go. Don't play him. Don't take him. Same with Corey Blackett-Taylor. I'm going to have a video dropping on that over the next few days, because he's rumoured to be of interest of Portsmouth and Oxford, which seems to be a similar link for Derby County players at the minute. And we've seen what the likes of Corey Blackett-Taylor and Joe Ward can do when they do play, but ultimately they're not really getting that opportunity. Now, I think this is a massive game for Dejan Brown. I think ultimately it decides what's going to happen with him for the rest of the season. If he has a good performance in the FA Cup, we probably keep him. If he struggles, we'll probably send him out on loan to a League One club. I'd love to see him at a Peterborough, a Bolton maybe, maybe even send him to a Wrexham or something like that, where he's going to get game time. Stockport even. Let him go and play football, because he's shown what he can do when he gets football, and he's not getting that for Derby County right now. So that's going to be very interesting to see what happens. You can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But obviously, with a rescheduled game, it causes a ton of problems, not just for the players, but also for the fans who are on their way down. And I feel sorry for anybody who had begun to make the trek down to Leyton Orient's ground, because it's not an easy place to get to, and with the weather conditions that we've been experiencing in the UK over the past week or so, it's going to be difficult there and back, obviously. So I hope everyone who did travel down got home safely, and I hope everyone who has tickets is still able to go to the rescheduled fixture. I know some people will have work and won't be able to now, and that's obviously very, very disappointing for them. And hopefully the club will offer you full refunds and things like that, but ultimately you won't get travel costs back, you won't get fuel money back, you won't get any hotel bills you've potentially booked. So it is going to be interesting to see how many of you are able to then still make the fixture. So obviously, Derby County have a good history against Leyton Orient, 3-0 in the last 2 games last season, so it's going to be interesting how Paul Warne does set us up. And obviously, with the latest news of the rescheduling and things like that, I think it could be important for Derby County to give them youngsters a good go heading into the game at the weekend. Realistically, for me, you could play 5 academy players, Rooney, Allen, Dejan Brown, chuck in a Freddie Turley in midfield with Allen, and whoever the other one is, Morton Spencer, get him involved. Play 5 of the academy lads, relax the squad down, let those first team players step away for the time being, and let's see what happens. Now, obviously it's disappointing postponement, but we've talked through it on this channel. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one.